Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after controversial fight in Texas.
Jake Paul has officially been arrested, and honestly, it's about time karma decided to clock in for work. Did you really think he could keep scamming people without facing the consequences? Jake, this time you've messed with the wrong crowd. Boxing fans.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us,
These aren't your TikTok followers. This crowd will tear down every ounce of ego and leave you vowing never to fall for scams again. Jake Paul's antics are far from harmless entertainment. This scripted boxing charade is just the tip of the iceberg. His track record is a tangled web of deceit, from staged fights to shady schemes, all designed to squeeze profit out of his so-called influence. But now, the tide has turned, and those he wronged are finally savoring justice. Jake Paul, more like Joke Paul. This time the joke's on him, and oh, it's absolutely satisfying.
28-year-old kid who, used to be a YouTuber, and he's worked hard to learn boxing. He really has. He's come along, but really, he's still not of that level.
Let's rewind, because Jake Paul's road to fame started long before his latest disaster. Back in the Vine days, Jake wasn't just obnoxious, he was toxic. Accusations of bullying, blackmail, and police reports tied him to cyberbullying so extreme it allegedly led to suicide attempts. Truly inspiring, right? By 2017, he launched Team 10, marketed as a U2 collective, but in reality a nightmare. Members were reportedly spied on, phones tapped, and lives tightly controlled, essentially a cult with terrible merch. And dare to speak up? Forget it. Remembered his infamous mansion, the one where neighbors called the police 47 times for complaints ranging from explosions to suspected arson. One girl even got injured during one of Jake's reckless stunts. Did he apologize? Of course not. Instead, he threw hush money at the problem, classic Jake. Meanwhile, as he terrorized his neighborhood, Jake inflated his success with an entirely different scheme. Up to 40% of his YouTube views were reportedly fake, pumped up by bots to create an illusion of stardom. His fame, much like his boxing career, was built on smoke and mirrors. It's a pattern of exploitation and chaos, with each new chapter leaving destruction in its wake. Jake Paul's rise to fame is a story littered with scams, controversies, and deceit, a tale of an influencer who turned fraud into a career. It all began back in the Vine era, where Jake didn't just make a name for himself as an annoying content creator, but also gained infamy for toxic behavior. Bullying, blackmail, and even police reports linked him to extreme cases of cyberbullying, some so severe they allegedly led to suicide attempts. This wasn't the beginning of a legacy, it was the birth of a manipulative opportunist. By 2017, Jake's ambitions grew, leading to the creation of Team 10, a so-called U2 collective that was anything but collaborative. Members later described it as a dystopian nightmare. Phones were tapped, lives were controlled, and dissent wasn't tolerated. It was essentially a cult, complete with terrible merch. Even neighbors couldn't escape his chaos. At his infamous mansion, the police were called 47 times for complaints ranging from explosions to reckless stunts. One girl was injured during one of his harebrained antics, and rather than offer an apology, Jake settled it the only way he knew, by throwing money at the problem. Meanwhile, Jake was busy inflating his YouTube views with bots, reportedly faking up to 40% of his audience. But why stop there? Jake saw a lucrative opportunity to scam kids out of their allowances with ventures like the Financial Freedom Movement. During the pandemic, he promised children a chance to become millionaires from their bedrooms, charging them hundreds of dollars for repackaged internet guides and plagiarized tips stolen from real business coaches. Jake made $2 million in just 3 months while delivering nothing of value to his young audience. Then came the crypto scams. Jake's love for pump-and-dump schemes with jump tokens left fans broke while he pocketed millions. Reports suggest he made $10 million off these scams, leaving his audience holding the bag. Who could forget his NFT disaster? A $4 million cash grab that disappeared as fast as his fan base when the FBI started asking questions. Jake's foray into boxing was no different. He didn't step into the ring for glory or respect. It was just another chapter in his scam-filled career. His underground matches in Los Angeles weren't fights. They were bare-knuckle money laundering machines, with bets reaching $1 million per match. 5 fighters left with severe injuries, and one reportedly disappeared altogether. This wasn't the rise of a boxing legend, it was the making of a crime documentary. By 2020, Jake's boxing matches grew more scripted. Rumors swirled that Anasondip, his opponent in his first professional bout, was paid a $500,000 bonus to take a dive in the first round. Offshore accounts buzzed with activity as millions were funneled out before the fight even ended. The 2021 Ben Askren fight was even worse. A $30 million fake betting scandal that saw Askren fold to a punch so weak it couldn't knock over a paper bag. Beyond the ring, Jake's extracurricular activities raised even more red flags. Training camps in Mexico conveniently included pit stops in cartel-controlled territories, areas notorious for illegal substances. Coincidence? Hardly. His entourage included 3 convicted drug smugglers, turning what should have been legitimate training sessions into shady operations. Jake's true skill wasn't boxing, it was evading the law while maintaining the illusion of legitimacy. The pinnacle of Jake's fraud came with his match against Mike Tyson. Promoted as a historic clash, the fight turned out to be a clownish performance. A leaked script revealed the fight was choreographed to boost Jake's image as a boxing prodigy. Tyson, once known for his devastating knockouts, appeared sluggish and disoriented, a far cry from the fighter in his training videos. Fans were outraged, and the fallout was immense. The fight's aftermath saw both Jake and Tyson entangled in lawsuits. The International Boxing Association began investigating, accusing Tyson of throwing the fight to protect Jake's fragile ego. Netflix, which streamed the event, faced a class action lawsuit for buffering issues and misleading viewers. Meanwhile, the FBI uncovered hard drives loaded with evidence of $50 million worth of shady transactions, offshore money laundering schemes, and doping scandals big enough to fuel documentaries for years. Jake Paul isn't a boxing prodigy, he's a con artist in gloves. His career is a masterclass in manipulation and exploitation, from scamming kids and defrauding fans to orchestrating rigged matches and shady financial deals. Every fight, every dollar, every scheme is another chapter in the story of how to fool the world for personal gain. His arrest isn't just justice, it's long overdue karma. If there's any silver lining to this saga, it's the hope that people will finally see Jake Paul for what he truly is, a fraudster, not a fighter, and certainly not a champion.